further ado, I welcome the VC panel on stage and their moderator, Benedek Orban.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would love to welcome speakers of this last panel of the day. It's the VC panel, super interesting. In a moment, my name is Benedek Orban. I'm board member of the Crypto Valley Association and also with my other hat on, head of ecosystem at CV Labs and CV VC. So today we have a stellar panel actually right above me. So I would like to ask our panelists to come in, put your hands together please for us. And we'll right away jump into. Yeah, we try to position ourselves under our pictures. Great, so I'll start off with a little intro, introducing our panelists. I'll start off with probably ladies first. This is Diana Bix, partner at 1KX. Probably you all have know, as well as she's a board observer on various different companies here in Switzerland and abroad. He's associate fellow with Said Business School, University of Oxford, in crypto since 2013, I heard. And she believes in the power of art and culture for social change, and she's a supporter of a very specific project called A-Field. So this is Diana. I'll go further into discussing and introducing her. Next up, we have on her left Max Schneider, investment manager at Blockwall. Max cares deeply about ownership aspect of the crypto world. He is with the investment team of Blockwall, a German VC, and is still passionate about the future of crypto as on day one. So outside of work, you most likely find him reading and cycling, right, Max? Yeah, next up we have here on my left in orange shirt, Alex Odaju, investment director of Easy Labs. If Easy Labs wouldn't say you too much, they are Binance Labs. They rebranded in the beginning of this year, right? So, and CZ personally is mentoring the portfolio companies in Easy Labs. We'll hear more about them. And last but definitely not least, we have Dr. Stephen Waterhouse, the founder and GP of Nazare Ventures, an early-stage AI venture fund. He's been active in building, investing into tech, in our tech, Web3 and AI since 1997. Pretty impressive. And what I also found out about Mr. Waterhouse, that he loves cold waters of the Pacific and the Atlantic West Coast. So let's make the deep dive into the cold waters of VCs. So in my first question, I would love to hear from you about your funds, its philosophy, and maybe what defines your fund, if you would need to summarize it in 2.5, 3 sentences. Maybe ladies first. Diana, want to go first?
Sure. So 1KX was founded back in 2018. We're a crypto native fund. Our overarching thesis is around the cost of trust, so that blockchain really is a tool for replacing trust with math and code. We invest broadly across mainly 3 categories. So consumer, that's gaming, social, anything fun, really. Middleware, where we have wallet infrastructure, staking, data, and infra as well. So scalability, DePIN is another big focus. And also, I would say some investments in funds and DAOs, but mainly across those 3 categories. We've made over 120 investments across the space. Typically, we like to be a lead investor, and we're investing sort of from idea stage, Series A, and then following on.
Thank you. How about we jump to Max?
Yeah, I'm Max. I'm an investment manager at Blockwall. We were founded in 2018 as well. We are based in Frankfurt, but our team is a little bit spread out. So I'm living in Berlin, and we have someone in Paris as well as in Munich. And our focus is really on the early stages. So we predominantly invest around pre-seed seed stage, and then we have a follow-on strategy where we can follow on up until Series A. And the core thesis of our fund is focused around the decentralization of the web and exclusively focused on using crypto and Web3 for that. because we really think it's important to take some of the power away from centralized entities who have grown too large these days. And we think that crypto and Web3 is the right tool to get that done. And yeah, that's kind of what we do.
Okay, Mr. Waterhouse, Steven, you want to go?
I just want to clarify, I wasn't investing in decentralized technology since '97. It was AI originally.
Fair point.
It was really early. Nazarea is focused on AI. We're not a crypto AI fund. We're actually, crypto is part of it. Our thesis is focused on not apps and not hardware. So we're kind of looking at the infrastructure, the algorithmic model layer. Basically, our theory is that the current stack of AI will be disrupted. One of those disruptions we think will be decentralized technologies, and crypto is a subset of that.
Thank you. Last but not least.
Yeah, hi everyone, my name is Alex. So Easy Labs, formerly known as Binance Labs, has been around since 2018. We have a portfolio for 300 investments. We're very much flexible in terms of the vertical, so we've been investing in anything from base layer infrastructure, layer ones, layer twos, bridges, you name it, middleware, analytics, all the way to application layer, including DeFi, gaming. What we're really focused on is on the impact and how we can apply the blockchain technology to make things better in the real world as well. So for the most part, we're looking for sustainable long-term investments. We have investments that we've done since 2018 that we still haven't exited. We just keep holding them, never sell, just time in hand all the way through. In terms of the stage, so we're focused on as early as possible. Pre-seed, seed is our sweet spot. We've done some other later stage investments, Series A and Series B. As of late, we're also extending towards later stage, so we are taking a dumbbell approach where we could also invest in live tokens, but with the same mindset as in the venture approach, where we look at across cycles, very long term, especially that some of the projects now decide to go with a fair launch, so they might not actually raise from VCs altogether. As a final point, we're also have expanded our focus outside crypto as well. So we do more traditional AI investments as well as biotech.
Okay, thank you very much. So jumping right into it. So my next question is risk on or risk off? How do you feel? How do you invest? How has 2025 been so far? And are you risk cautious or really just deploying and going with the flow? So would love to hear, maybe starting off right away with Alex now this time.
Sure, so we are as active as ever. We actually never stopped really. So again, in terms of the macro picture and the way we look at the high level sort of external factors, that's not really something that decides our velocity of deploying capital. So we're as active as always. In fact, I don't think there is enough opportunities. There's enough capital. There's not enough investable opportunities. So we're very much risk on, but that doesn't mean that we just invest in everything that comes across our desk. We're very thorough in terms of selection. And as I mentioned, we look at everything as a long-term partnership.
Appreciate. Maybe Diana, right away?
Yeah, I would say typically we are known and how we typically are is for being counter-cyclical. We really like to invest in bear markets when kind of everyone else has left, and we feel like we can really be the people in the corner, the ones who believe when everyone else doesn't. And we've had a lot of success with that, where there have been certain investments in areas where no one else was looking, and we really like that. We are actively investing, though. I would say we're always active. I would say we probably write 1 to 2 lead checks a month. Maybe last month we even had 4 or 5 new investments announced. So we're pretty consistent in terms of being active investors. But bear markets are actually our favorite.
Thanks.
Yeah, for us, it's very similar. We are also always risk on, basically, and that's mainly because our focus is really on the earliest stages, pre-seed and seed, and it just takes a lot of time to build something real. Usually it takes somewhere from 3 to 5, 6, 7, 8 years until you might get a liquidity event. In crypto, it's sometimes a bit earlier, especially if there's a token component to it. But since we don't do any liquid strategy and we also don't do deals where there's a very short-term token launch, so we really focus on partnering on the long term with founders, and then it just takes time. And there's always good founders who have great ideas, and we just look for them and then we back them, and that's our strategy.
Yeah, so we're investing in 2 bubbles at the same time. So both crypto and AI. So we're always risk on. I mean, similar to what Max was just saying, we're trying to avoid things where it's a quick flip, because that quick flip is very hard to time. Investing into crypto markets where you're seeing a TGE coming up and you think you've got a good unlock strategy, you know, it's like, good luck. You might as well just invest in the liquid markets. But primarily, you know, I'm very bullish on AI in general, and then over time, the convergence of those things with crypto, I think, will be dramatic in terms of the outcomes.
Can't wait to hear more about the AI angle. We have actually question prepared for that angle. Before we go into sector focus, I will still have a question like, have you made any shifts in terms of ticket size, investment pace? We already heard, Diana, a bit maybe with you last month. Maybe that might be a new trend. Or founder expectations based on macro or regulatory trends building up in 2025. Steven, you want to go right away and take this one?
Well, it's sort of like 2 weird forces acting against each other. On the one hand, it seems like we're going to get some regulatory, maybe the storm is clearing, but having said that, nothing's actually really changed. It's just that there's a perception that things are going to change. And the SEC is obviously a little bit more friendly, but no new regulations have actually happened in the US yet. So just beware on that one. But at the same time, the US macro stance is just leading to incredible uncertainty. So speaking from the LP position, we see people who are just, you know, waiting to deploy because they're just not quite sure what's going to happen next. From the customer perspective and in the AI sector too, we're starting to see wallets tightening because people are unsure what's going to happen next. So it's a pretty uncertain period. In terms of fundraising and investing on VC, it's hard to say whether this is a bearish time or a bullish time on that perspective. It's kind of like a combination of both things. We see some teams rapidly raising and then other teams really struggling. So it's a mixed bag.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Max, how about you at Blockwall?
I don't think we've made any strong changes in our investment strategy. So for us, it's always about having enough exposure to a certain deal that if it works out, that it could potentially return the fund. And if you talk about equity at the early stages, that usually means you start by billing at least around 3% at pre-seed stage, and then you try to get it to at least 5% at the seed stage. And that's just, you just need that to have that exposure in order to return the fund. And obviously that depends on kind of how large a fund is and how many investments you make. And that's kind of what defines for us how we invest, and that has stayed the same. So we are always focused on having the ownership that works for a fund model.
Great.
Yeah, I would say for us, again, I mean, yeah, I would agree with Steve that it is a mixed bag overall. It hasn't sort of changed our outlook or what we're seeing or how we're approaching the market. And again, I think this is as like others on this panel share this as well, being like very long-term focused. So yeah, again, like some of the projects, even we've had projects that have just actually even just gone to market with their token this year that we've been investing in, yeah, since as far back as 2017, 2018, and that we're still backing. So it's really about the focus on the project itself versus like what's happening in the broader market environment.
Thanks for sharing, Alex.
Yeah, no major changes on our side in terms of the investment strategy. One thing that we've added, though, is a new format of an incubation program, which we've been running before, and we kind of shifted after COVID to fully online, and then recently we just restarted this fully offline again. So the first iteration of this relaunch is going to be in New York City. It's starting in a couple of weeks' time. The format is very similar to what you've seen in Web 2, like with Y Combinator and similar programs, like a 10-week program where we will have a couple of dozen projects that will be very hands-on, very early stage, and we can have a lot of impact and input into a lot of their decisions around starting from fundraising to tokenomic design to go-to-market and so on. So that's something new that we've added. We've announced it, I think, a couple of months ago, and we're actually kicking it off very soon.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Super interesting. So finally, we reached to the question where we will be discussing where we are placing the bets, right? And obviously, the main question is which verticals or teams are most exciting to you right now. But I would also be interested, and probably also interesting for the audience here, that do you have a particular edge, a network, a team, a geographical footprint that allows you to go deeper into these sectors which are interesting to you? Maybe why don't we just, Diana, you want to take this first?
Sure. What makes us different? So our investment team is focused on specific categories and like the areas of investment. So for example, we have Peter Pan, who was one of the founders of Metacartel, like one of the first DAOs, who's been building games and super hands-on on the consumer side. Who's covering consumer along he's got Jacob working with him, who is one of the founders of Social Graph Ventures, which did a lot of like the first checks into almost all of the consumer projects across crypto. Then on the infra side, we have our partner Wei Dai, who's a PhD in cryptography, and I constantly get told by founders he's one of the most technical investors in the space. So it's really amazing to have him. So we have these people on our investment team that have that really deep knowledge in the areas that we're looking at, and that allows them to skip over with founders don't need to be explaining the market, but rather they're going to be working and talking to people who really have like also built in the space and deeply understand it. I would also say that everyone on our team is former founders, builders, or technical developers as well. So yeah, I think every single person on the team has launched a company or been part of like a growing startup themselves. So we have this empathy with the founder journey and are able to provide advice along the way. Then in addition to the investment team, we have actually like a CTO and a tech team that then work hands-on with our portfolio companies on the technical side. I know that every VC, of course, says that they're hands-on, but we really do try to live and breathe it. I'm actually on the post-investment side as well, so working with projects on go-to-market, on their token launches, on institutional adoption, and all those areas. So yeah, we are really like in the corner. I would say also we're like very online and very on-chain, like almost in an unhealthy way, but that's what you have to be in crypto.
And if I would ask you to like name 2 or 3 teams that's like the teams specific are very excited and double clicking into, what would be that, like deep in AI or what is the team which, if I would look into those specific teams with specific knowledge and experience, you would name? What is that keeps you in 2025, or these teams most busy?
Okay, like the investment themes that.
Yes, so teams, yeah.
So I would say definitely on the infra side, a lot of like we have a lot of investments in ZK tech and also privacy. That's like an area of specialty for Wei. Also looking deeply, of course, at AI and crypto. I think we've been through like this first wave where we're looking at like bringing compute on chain and kind of like agents, and now it's really about like what unique capabilities or platforms can blockchain technology unlock for AI that isn't possible otherwise. And DePIN is also a big area of focus for us. We have our chief economist also, Robert, who does a lot of research in this space, and we have quite a few investments from like compute storage across the board, and I think that those be a lot more interesting kind of like 0 to 1 opportunities coming out of that area as well.
Thank you. Alex, how about Easy Labs?
So first question, I guess, was what differentiates us. I think we have a pretty wide network, and we can tap into this whole universe of different parts. We're very close to the BNB chain team, has a very large active user base, lots of TVL on it, and a lot of DeFi activity. There's all sorts of different other parts of the network that we have, Trust Wallet, CoinMarketCap. So we can tap into all of those resources, which help with some of the go-to-market or integrations with some of the portfolio companies that are looking for that specific type of support. But also we're very fortunate to be, in a position that a lot of founders want to talk to us. So we get a lot of inbound interest, which we're very fortunate and very grateful. And we try to, talk to everybody and across all of the time zones. So we have team representation starting from, where the time zone starts to all the way where it ends across most of the continents. So that's helpful as well. We're connecting 24/7, I guess, like everyone in crypto is. Second part, which was
no worries. First was what are the verticals which we are interested in. Second was what is your competitive edge there, like.
So on the verticals, so I subscribe to a lot of what Dana mentioned, but something in addition would be like RWA. I think there's a fundamental shift in the regulatory side. So there's a lot more openness to touch stuff, which was highly risky even in the US. For example, tokenizing stocks, which are outright securities. Big push on that side. We're seeing a lot of excitement and very interesting projects are building that. I think the tech on that side is not the main differentiator. In fact, I think that's pretty commoditized. What it is interesting is the distribution, the go-to-market channels, all of the integrations that is enabling that. And to some extent, like the regulatory setup, how this is achieved. So I think we've seen the RWA starting with like stable coins, which are the first form of very like initial primitive of the RWA, tokenizing like a bank account. Then we moved on to the cash equivalents, which T-bills, moving a bit further out, which is private credit funds, money market funds, corporate bonds. Now we're seeing adoption of stocks, and I think we're just going to chip away at it. We're getting to more illiquid, but a lot more interesting, more exciting type of RWAs. So yeah, very excited about that space, spending a lot of time meeting founders and understanding the regulatory setup that is going to change. It's changing already.
Understood. Steven, where are you placing the bets, obviously, with your specific focus?
Yeah, we're like all in on AI. But within that, I like to define a thesis by the things we don't do, which is like, it's easier, then you can say no to people. So we don't do hardware, we don't do apps. We break those rules every so often, but those are primarily things. We're also not looking at like yielding engines, DeFi AI, these kind of like trying to build kind of automated hedge funds. That's also not an area for us. So what does that leave? Well, what I'm primarily looking for is companies, not projects. I like to use the word company because it sounds more serious. That are, sorry guys, that are where the token is not the product, right? So when someone comes to me and they start telling me about their network and their go-to-market plans, and my go-to-market plans are basically how they're going to pump the token, I'm just like, listen, tell me what the product market fit is and we'll have a conversation. And they say, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, who are the customers? Who's your pilot clients, et cetera, et cetera. I want to build real companies where crypto is part of it, but it's not all of it. So that's really the area we're looking at. Included in that is areas like decentralized training, inference, reinforcement learning, incentivized GPU architectures. We're looking at a lot of stuff around enterprise agents, not the crypto versions, but how they coordinate and communicate with one another across different networks. And we think that will have some strong crypto integration eventually. But to be clear, we invest in both sectors, and we think there's a convergence coming. And so some of the deals we're doing, we're investing in things that start off as crypto and then and drop the crypto and just go AI. And other ones we're doing AI investments that adopt crypto. So we're seeing this kind of convergence between these two areas over time.
Thanks. Max, how about Blockwall?
Yeah, I also think that finance is, as a general term, probably still one of the largest and most interesting aspects for crypto, because it also just has, if you look at the adoption, it has the most adoption. It's also just philosophically the most obvious case for using crypto. And obviously you have certain subsectors there. You have DeFi, which is probably a little bit of a negative sentiment in general at the moment, but I think there's still a lot of opportunities there, especially around making it more simple and making it more usable. So this is an area that we're looking at. And then RWAs have been mentioned already, and that is an example for general or traditional assets that are being getting on-chain at the moment. I think there's a lot of traction happening there, and we do have probably one of the best performing portfolio companies in that area, specifically around tokenizing treasuries. And I think those are very interesting sectors. And then obviously the payment space is very large. And if you look at generally how payment flows work, right, even if in one simple transaction there's often 4, 5, 6 different companies involved in one transaction, and all of them make a cut, and obviously it's still the question of where you can make the biggest money, but this whole payments and cross-border payment sector, and especially enabled by stablecoins, is extremely interesting as well, and it's a very, very large market, and where you have very different ways to tackle the market and make money.
Okay, super interesting. Going forward, regional dynamics and US dominance. I just wanted to ask you, actually all, how do you see the regional differences in deal flow and opportunity? While is the US still leading the charge in crypto VC, you could say, or are kind of new hubs emerging with real weights, like outside of the US? Who would want to go first? Steven, yeah.
I feel like I'm never answering the question that you're asking, but I'll try.
We're having good time.
So it's maybe counterintuitively. I think that the tech talent is fairly, not evenly distributed, but is distributed globally. So we have deals in Zurich, London. We have a deal pending in Singapore. We have stuff just all over the place. We're just only recently doing 3 deals in San Francisco, which were sourced there and started there. I think that in certain sectors, like specifically AI, there's only one place in the world that scales those companies properly, and that scaling is done with biz dev and marketing. That is San Francisco. That is also true, say, if you're doing a finance startup, maybe you want to scale in New York. So there's kind of like certain areas where the scaling happens in those regions. I'm like largely bearish on distributed teams currently. The idea of like, run your team like a DAO and everyone has to live in different places and you spend all this time like trying to figure out how to talk to each other. I think that trend is dying, and I think we'll start to see companies start in one place, stay in one place, maybe have a few people distributed. But regional distribution, sure. I think one of the more kind of following questions is, where do you put your company? So I'm currently, my family lives in Lisbon. I don't know anyone starting companies in Lisbon that is in Lisbon. They put their companies in Switzerland or Delaware or, one of the dodgy islands. And those, and I think that's more the interesting question is like, where do you put your company as well once you start it up? So.
Yeah, super interesting. Max?
I think in crypto, teams are very often quite distributed, so it's very hard to pick out specific hubs for teams because they might have people there and there. But I think probably the importance of the US is increasing again, especially with the regulation. They are becoming a bit more crypto friendly. And we see that just if you look at where events are happening. So it's much more events moving now to the US because it is the largest market. They have a very big pool of talent there as well. And so a lot of stuff is happening there. But I think in general, crypto is still very distributed, and you still have a lot of interesting hubs in Europe as well. I mean, Crypto Valley is one, Zurich, and but also in Paris or like in Lisbon, there are many companies. Berlin is a big part. London is always a big part. So it's very spread out, and obviously Asia is there as well. And there's always also different kind of strategies and different types of projects that are happening in different areas. So it really also makes a difference of what you're building and where it makes sense to do that.
Yeah, we invest globally. Our team is also decentralized and spread out around the world. I would say that maybe on the sort of geography side, since we invest in mainly token networks and decentralized protocols, we do have a lot of investments in founders in the US, and maybe they're more comfortable about actually being based there these days. So I think that's been helpful. And yeah, certainly the U.S. is a fantastic market and hub for tech as well. I mean, I think just today, TransferWise, I think it was announced that TransferWise will be IPOing in the U.S. instead of London. So there is this kind of pull of U.S. For global market. So yeah, that's a factor. But definitely like our scope and the range of talent is global.
Yeah, I think the U.S. is picking up steam big time, especially with the new administration. There's various factors. I think it's undeniable that the capital markets in the U.S. Have a lot of weight. Most of the crypto industry is denominated in dollars, so it eventually just distills back to the U.S. dollar. Talent-wise, yeah, for sure. Like AI, Bay Area, again, probably the largest hub. Very hard to, to displace that. With regards to the finance, DeFi, for example, I think New York has its place, but can be more. You can build, crypto DeFi projects pretty much anywhere. I think emerging markets, especially the ones that have a very high, large degree of representation in payments, like remittances, are interesting. We're seeing a lot of use cases and projects being built very close to those markets. So LATAM, Africa, some parts of Southeast Asia as well. Coming back to Max's point about payments, very big industry, remittances, very interesting. Stablecoins have, if you look at networks like Tron, most of the activity is actually coming from those geographies, and I think that is only going to increase. So there's the US, Europe, Asia, plus all of the emerging markets that form a very interesting dynamics generally.
Okay, thanks very much. So it's actually turning towards the last bunch of questions. So if you would have one honest advice which you could give to a founder sitting in the audience or online, what would it be? How shall they navigate in current 2025 fundraising landscape? One advice each. An honest one. Steven, you want to start?
Yeah, find product market fit.
Fair one, good. That's valid forever, right? Not just now?
But in general, very few people do.
Yeah. No specifics for 2025. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I would say build something real and get traction with it, right? So have a very specific plan in mind of what you want to do and how to get there. Because I think in crypto, people often just went for a token launch and use that as kind of the goal to get. And I think that's not working out so good anymore. So build something real and get people to use it.
So get something real and get the traction, much more numbers. Diana?
Yeah, kind of similarly, I would say it's game time. Things are real, so it's time to move from sort of pilot to production, and to be really clear on what your unfair advantages are, whether that's sort of product and tech, or for consumer, I would say that would need to be like your go-to-market, and how you're going to win in an increasingly competitive space.
Thanks.
Yeah, one simple phrase: never give up. So if you're building something that doesn't work out, you can pivot. Good investors will always be there for you. So we have actually examples in our portfolio that have pivoted 2 or 3 times, eventually found product market fit, managed to scale, and they never gave up.
A great one. So I hope we all listen to it. I would like, with this, thank to our panelists. Thanks for coming today. And also thanks for staying around for the last panel of the day. We wish you a great time for networking in the Apero. And once again, thanks from my side. Put your hands together, please.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Max.